National Defense and Security Council Information Center spokesman. Шановні пані і панове, вітайте Андрія Лисенко, речник інформаційного центру РНБО. Прошу, пане Андрію.
Доброго дня, шановні колеги.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. First, about the after effects of the air crash of Boeing. The experts of the Commission informed us that the data from black boxes point out to the reason of the destruction and the fall of the airplane was the mass explosion decompression as a result of fragmentation and missile explosion. Yesterday, a group of international experts and OSCE workers was not allowed by terrorists to the site of the crash in the vicinity of Shakhtarsk, Donetsk region. The Ukrainian army has approached the site of the crash, but is not engaged in any active combat. As you know, the president of the Ukraine ordered to freeze all the combat action in the diameter of 40 kilometers around the site of the crash. The communique of the European Police Bureau expresses hope for the quickest possible improvement of the conditions of the work of investigators on the site of the crash. And also it says that the site of the crash has not been regarded by the terrorists as the site of the crime. The Ukrainian armed forces are actively launching offensive on the territories temporarily under control of Russian mercenaries. Yesterday, Ukrainian aircraft inflicted strikes on the amassment of terrorists and destroyed a great number of military machines and personnel. So the Ukrainian armed forces liberated Debaltseve and the strategically important height of Savur-Mohyla. Also, our military entered the cities of Shakhtarsk, Torez, and Lutuhina. Now they are fighting for the full liberation of Pervomaisk and Snizhne. The Ukrainian armed forces and National Guards have occupied positions on the outskirts of Horlivka and are preparing to liberate it. The control over these territories will allow to encircle and destroy the Donetsk and Horlivsk groupings of terrorists. In the vicinity of Ridkodub, Lokhvino, Tarnove, road checks, points, and firing positions of enemy were destroyed. In Horlivka, the remnants of the bandit formations are chaotically firing at residential blocks, and peaceful people are dying. The terrorists try to pretend that those are the actions of Ukrainian military. However, the provocations of the militants are already revealed by local activists who are informing ATO representatives about the crimes and inform about the intentions of the bandits. While retreating, the terrorists for 24 times have fired at road checks and Ukrainian armed forces positions in a number of localities. The terrorists are going on with the ruination of infrastructure. In Horlivka, they have destroyed the railway on the second kilometer of the distance between Mykitivka and Bayrak. At the Ukrainian-Russian border within Donetsk and Luhansk regions, over 24 hours, the terrorists were regularly firing at the bodyguards and anti-terrorist organization units, including from the territory of Russian Federation, from small arms, mortars, artillery, and salvo firing systems. Yesterday, over 4.5 hours from the vicinity of the settlement of Chernigov, Russian Federation, from howitzers and mortars. They were firing at the border point Dovzhansky in Luhansk region. They fired almost more than 250 projectiles. As a result of the shelling, 4 Ukrainian bodyguards were killed and 2 wounded. Now you can see the photo. According to the information of the military representative of NATO, the U.S. have informed the alliance of the intelligence data that testifies to missile strikes from the territory of Russia to Ukraine. In particular, the administration of U.S. President presented 4 satellite photos that testify to the facts of shelling of the Ukrainian territory from the side of Russia from the 21st to the 26th of July. And these are the locations of the salvo firing systems.
This is the place of location of Ukrainian unit. And that is all the time shelled from the territory of Russian Federation. Now there is still the threat of more attacks on the ATO forces that attacked in the pre-border regions of Ukraine using the systems that are located in the Russian Matveyev, Kurgan, Kuybyshevo, Millerovo, Novoshakhtinsk. Next to Novy Svit of Donetsk region, Ukrainian military were fighting with the group of militants. During this fighting, our military managed to eliminate the group of snipers terrorists. According to the information of the Ministry of Defense, supply of the food, water, medicines, and ammunition to brigades which courageously keep defense in the pre-border regions of Lugansk region has been resumed. That is to the brigades about which there's so much information. Along the state border of Ukraine, the drones of the armed forces of Russian Federation, Su-24MR, conduct scouting flights in order to observe the actions of the units of the forces of ATO, and also that is the exchange of information going on, so that it is easier for the terrorists to get information about where should they be shooting. As to the situation in the settlements in the zone of conflict, we continue the resumption of the broadcasting of Ukrainian TV channels in the liberated settlements. From the beginning of ATO, out of 10 towers, TV towers, 7 are controlled by Ukraine. Yesterday in Lysychansk, Lugansk region, the broadcasting of Ukrainian TV channels has been resumed. The opposition of local population against Russian mercenaries is getting stronger. The members of the Donetsk unit of Ukrainian NGO of the disabled people from Chernobyl catastrophe, Chernobyl Yednost, addressed the terrorists with the demand to leave the territory of Ukraine. In Donetsk Oblast, the terrorists continue to keep the children orphans. 135 sick children from Donetsk city and Oblast orphanages, and also Makiivsky orphanage Malyatka, where AIDS and infected children are. The militants prohibit to take the children from the zone of ATO. The head of the European Council, German Van Rompuy, called upon prime ministers of the countries members of EU to instruct the ambassadors in the European Union on the 29th of July to declare additional sectoral sanctions against Russia on behalf of their countries. This way, the issue of expanding the measures against the Russian Federation will be resolved at the level of the representatives without having another EU summit. The head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Germany stated that despite the economic losses for German business, the official Berlin is ready to introduce sectoral sanctions. Vice Chancellor of Federal Republic of Germany, Minister of Economy, also called upon the EU to, as soon as possible, approve the next sanctions against Russian Federation and Russian civil servants, oligarchs, and entrepreneurs that support the activities of so-called Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics. Before you, there were representatives of UN who said that both sides are using heavy weapons against the densely populated residential areas. My question is such: do you believe, because of the direct actions of Ukrainian military, there are losses in peaceful population? Ukrainian military are not shelling the residential areas, neither from the land nor from the air. Only the special units with their small firing arms are operating. As to shooting in the residential areas, at the residential houses, that is happening only from the terrorists. Their objective is to scare the peaceful population and to provoke their understanding that that is happening only from the side of Ukraine. But we have video materials proving that these are the terrorists who are shelling the residential areas. If this organization has its own proofs, we are ready to take this evidence and provide answer.
Can you explain me what you exactly are doing near the...
Wait.
Yes.
Can you explain us what you're exactly doing near the site? Because in the translation it was said that the Ukrainian army is getting closer, but there is no combat. But I mean, if you're getting closer, you seek combat, aren't you? So how does that combine with the statement of Mr. Poroshenko that he said that you would heed to a ceasefire?
Thank you for the question.
And I will explain. And there is the zone of the aircraft crash. The diameter is 40 kilometers. The radius is 20 kilometers. Our military are close to the limits of this zone. However, if in this zone there are explosions, then these are not Ukrainian military who are doing that. This zone is declared as not the zone of military actions. Ukrainian military are executing the orders, and the terrorists are provocatively making explosions and are shooting at this territory. We officially state that Ukrainian servicemen are not conducting any military actions on this territory. From this side of Ukrainian military, there are no military actions taking place there. We understand that the terrorists can also make use of this situation to be there so that they are not killed, but there are some measures that will force them to leave this territory. Unfortunately, we could not hear. Are we talking about Shakhtarsk or the place of the crash? Shakhtarsk. That's where there is the offense of our land forces is going on. They are blocking Shakhtarsk. The Shakhtarsk is not bombed and is not shelled by the artillery.
Pavlo and Channel, could you tell us what are the losses over the last day how many wounded. And there's also information that subversive groups of terrorists are coming back to Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. And if you have proof of the shelling by terrorists of Ukrainian positions, we would like them to be made public. As far as losses are concerned, we are still making this more precise. There's very active combat action now, so if I quote any losses now, we won't be accurate. As far as coming back to Sloviansk is concerned, there's an information from the Ministry of Interior and the Security Service that there are cases when they are detaining subversive groups who, covering as peaceful residents, try to come back to Sloviansk. But due to the cooperation from local population who point out to them, we're able to discover them and neutralize them.
ARD, German TV. Yeah.
Understood.
Okay. You said you don't want to enter this circle around the crash site, but yesterday you told us here that you actually want to reach the crash site. How are you going to manage it, not fighting within this 40 kilometers and reaching the crash site at the same time? How will it work?
Дякую за питання.
Thank you for the question. The matter is that the art of war and those tactical actions that we are using allow the Ukrainian army to neutralize and to encircle this site, and the terrorists will be made to leave the place themselves, because otherwise they will have no exit. There is no sense to just wait for something. Everything will be encircled, and we will force them to exit the site. Thank you. NHK Television Japan. Yesterday you told us that on Thursday there will be, it is planned, this session to ratify the access of international police force to this crash site. And now we hear that the convoy is already moving to this site of the crash. Which convoy? We heard the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Australia, Julia Bishop, and as far as we understood, the convoy has already left Donetsk and is moving towards the crash site. Are there any inaccuracies or maybe some contradictions? If you're talking about Western and international experts who have to work on the crash site, then there's no problem at all. There is an opportunity, and the Ukrainian legislation allows, if this is a group of specialists up to 50 people, they can, without any sanction from the parliament, be on the territory of Ukraine, and there are fewer than 50 people in this group, so they can move around the territory of Ukraine. You don't need to have any permit from the parliament. Please, I don't have any particular details. I just quoted the legislation from you. Please speak through the mic. Again, the question in English.
Can you explain us what exactly has been arranged between Australia, the Netherlands and Ukraine in this agreement which Parliament has to vote on? Apparently it allows groups bigger than 50 persons, but does it also allow carrying of weapons? I mean, can you explain us what's exactly in the agreement that Parliament will vote on?
Дякую за питання.
Thank you for the question. I'm not prepared to dwell in detail about this agreement, but if the question is put for consideration to the Parliament, then the Parliament can provide the permit for military personnel together with weapons and military machinery to enter the territory of Ukraine. I don't know the details of the agreement, but if it is to be considered by the Parliament, then it definitely has to have something that needs parliamentary approval. What is the situation with the medicines in the ATO zone? Medicines. The matter is that we don't have any problems with medicines because we have a lot of information about collecting money, both by the activists and the state, in order to purchase medicines. So I don't see any important preparations or medicines that we lack in the anti-terrorist operation zone. We don't see such problems. Including there's no problem with giving blood for the wounded. We have Ukrainians are queuing in a week for a week in order to give blood to our wounded personnel. The main thing is for people to live, and for us to have peace. Yesterday there was an information about 40 or even more Ukrainian military who surrendered to Russia. Can you tell us anything? Thank you. As far as this fact goes, the Minister of Defense confirmed that there is such a fact, but at the moment there is investigation going. As soon as we have official result, we will make it public. Another question from foreign journalist, Voice of America.
Operations to block the alleged supply lines from Russia to the rebels in Donetsk, and also if there are any plans to launch a major assault on Donetsk in the coming days.
Вибачте, не дуже розчув.
Ми зараз ще раз повторимо. Can you please repeat?
Could you tell us more about the operation, please, to block the supply lines from the Russian border to Donetsk? There are reports in the media that that's a major part of the army operation. And also tell us if there are any plans to launch a bigger assault on Donetsk in the coming days.
Thank you for question.
If I tell you now about the details of those operations, they will have to be cancelled. Thank you.
One more question. Good afternoon, Independent Bureau of News. How is rotation going on? There was the presidential decree signed about that, and what has changed? I would like to clarify that that decree was approved by the Parliament of Ukraine, and it was about partial mobilization that will allow to have more people in our military units, and also partially give the opportunity to people who are in the front to get replaced and to have some rest. And also we will be able to create active reserve, which will be able to help any moment when there is an assault. If we stop the assault, this will give a chance to the militants to get some additional resources and to recover. So partial mobilization will help us speed up the offense of Ukrainian forces. If in the past we had that territory, now it's getting narrower and narrower with every day. Today we have liberated one settlement. We entered 3 more in the outskirts, and we continue the offense. That is only thanks to our military, to the heroism and courage. They're thinking about nothing else but the victory. And one more clarification. Again, One more question. In the internet, there's information, there's the content of the PO box of the prosecutor, where there's information about big losses of Ukrainian army, and what you've mentioned just, that there will be more servicemen added to the army, that confirms that. Thank you for reminding me about prosecutor's office. I have to announce that tomorrow the General Prosecutor's Office will, on the issues of ATO and actions within ATO and possible violations, they will have the special briefing. You will get all the answers from them. But I cannot tell you more than the Prosecutor General. He will tell you everything in detail about possible violations that are taking place during anti-terrorist operation and the violations from the side of Russian Federation. There are very, very serious issues there. Could you please tell us about the situation around Brigade 79? Yesterday, the parents came and they denied the information that the assistance was given. They are still there without food and weapons. Thank you for your question. The supply of ammunition, food, and medicines is taking place all the time. Again, I would like to remind you that unless that was happening, all the guys would have been dead. We have all the time filling in all these supplies. That's happening not like at exact hours, 12, 15, 17, like it's, according to some schedule, but when possible, because there are all the time fighting going on. The units which are supplying to our front units, it is very difficult for them, and they suffer losses. They probably fail to come at 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. There are some shootings. People die, but the guys there all the time get the supplies by air, by land, at night. Another question, again in English.
This is again, I think you've addressed this question before, but about the Human Rights Watch report regarding civil casualties, civilian casualties in the East. My question is the Ukrainian government prepared to, I'm choosing my words carefully, take responsibility or recognize that there are civilian casualties happening in the East that may have resulted from actions that the Ukrainian military has taken? Is that clear?
Дякую за питання, дуже коректно. Дякую.
Thank you for your question. It's very well, correctly put. I would like to say the following. We want to express our gratitude to this international organization, because they, despite being in the zone of the fighting, they continue to conduct their mission. That's very important. Secondly, the information which they manage to gather probably should be transferred to Ukrainian side as well, so that we can analyze this data. That's also very important. And thirdly, the situation which is taking place on the territory, which is temporary under control of the terrorists, we cannot get objective assessment of the situation on these territories. That is why, if there are any data, please give them to governmental Ukrainian organizations. We will analyze it. If there's any hint that Ukrainian military did something wrong, they will be responsible for that. However, Ukrainian military are doing everything to preserve peaceful population. They're not shooting in these regions. The terrorists are shooting people, they are robbing, they are capturing and taking hostage. We have all the facts, and if necessary, we are ready to provide all these facts to international organizations. Thank you. Any more questions? No more questions. Thank you. The next press briefing of Mr. Lysenko will take place today at 5 p.m.